anyway, I had to go to county lockup 30 days, and I got out, and my friends, like any good military friend should do, said, "You want to like pay rent or get food? No, let's throw a party and invite whores and have a gangbang."
Hey, welcome back to Four for the Road, everybody. I'm Rails Punk Rock, and we got our a few guys that were chosen to come on the show.
I see what you did there.
Little pun there, little dad joke, you know. So we got NoShame and Professor Blade with us. How you guys doing today?
Hey, doing great.
Doing good, man.
Still alive.
Yeah, man. And then we got Dave looking like a. I'm not gonna say it.
A hippie,
like Captain Caveman, the cartoon.
He looks good. I'm really just jealous of the beard. It's a good beard.
Well, when you hit puberty, you too can grow a beard.
Is that when I retire? When I hit puberty?
I mean, I see what you got going on there right now. That's not bad.
No, this is 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks.
Oh, that's 2 weeks? I thought it was like a day. I'm sorry. I take it back. That sucks.
There we go.
Shame.
Darn. Ice cold.
Rough out here for a pimp, let me tell you.
So, what topic do you have for us today? I was late to the party. It sounded like you guys already had some good stuff going on.
Yeah, man. We were talking about their clubs doing in their communities and kind of what happens from the biker side, at least when a clubhouse is stood up in a neighborhood and what they try to do for their community.
Yeah, things that never make the media.
Yep. Or things that the media are going to ignore.
Yeah, that's not gonna get you a page tab on Insane Throttle.
Well, I'm very curious as to what are some of the things that y'all's club has done, to help your community, to help where your clubhouses are.
You want to take this first?
Yeah, I mean, well, we, like Professor was saying before we started recording, and for us, it's like a long-standing tradition for our club. I think it's something that we kind of do as an homage to our roots, to where we had our clubhouse on 108th and Broadway, and that was basically a staple in the community. It was not only like an after-hours spot where, I mean, back in the day, you would have even like really famous acts that would go and perform out there and people that would just come from all around to see it. But it went all the way down to Father hosting Bible studies there, to the clubhouse sponsoring like youth baseball teams, getting kids bats and gloves and stuff like that. And just that involvement in the community where your neighbors felt safe or safer with you being there. And to the point where when we were forced to get rid of that location, the community suffered from it. Like Professor was saying, crime rates went up by like 20% when the club left. And, a lot of that comes down to us wanting to preserve like a good environment. If there's this person and that person going around there doing graffiti or selling drugs on the corner around your spot, it draws attention, and a lot of it's unwarranted. Because, I mean, you look around at a lot of clubs that are having clubhouses and involved in that community and stuff. We're not out there selling drugs, but they damn sure want to pin stuff like that on us. So we don't want any of that stuff around us. We don't want it in our communities, and we want to take care of the people that we call our neighbors.
I saw an article one time that said when they closed up shop on 108th, that residents would talk about how the community was safer. A lot of them were kind of outraged, not to get political or anything like that. They said, it's kind of shady police tactics and things like that they felt like, and these are residents saying it, to why the clubhouse was shut down. They talked about how, the neighborhood could be covered in graffiti, but that block would be, like spotless. Sunday, they could go over and listen to old blues music and eat barbecue. I think there was a chosen few member was Madhouse Buddy, who was and he would play live for these guys, and they would eat barbecue. Mm-hmm. Also, that article was written by me, so
yeah.
Shameless plug.
Is that the article that you wrote? Well, in Boy Art.
No, this is one that we did over at the other page at Sucker Free for, I think it's an anniversary for Lionel Rich's passing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Madhouse was a hell of a musician. That was definitely one of his passions, was playing music, and yeah, there was always live music there on actually on any given night there was always live music there, and since it was Los Angeles, sometimes celebrities would show up too. I can't think of the names of some people, but it was mentioned to me. But oh, somebody's ringing my front door.
Well, the dogs are excited.
Yeah, let me go check out who that is.
I hope it's not the cops.
Nah, they don't knock.
Say hi to Jerry for us.
Yeah. Oh, Jerry made a cross-country trip today.
So while we wait for him to come back, Jim, what about you and your club? Like, what kind of outreach stuff are you guys doing?
For us, it's more local stuff. No high profile stuff. We do a lot of stuff for kids. Um, Local charities, local kids that need something. As soon as we get wind of that, we pull together and well, so the guys can't see what's going on. No Shame's kid is walking in and out like it's no big deal. Bye, Dad.
Needs the charger for his Switch. That's his mute button.
Yeah, so we just do things for local. We try to make it, especially people that we know. If we know of a family that needs something, or especially kids, man. Same thing with all bikers, and I'm sure it's the same thing with y'all's club. Man, if a kid needs something, first person that's going to be there is a biker every time.
Yep. I think that's definitely a universal theme, especially with those long-established clubhouses. If people are doing it right, which most people are, I mean, you have your outliers, but most of the outliers don't want to involve the club. That's their own personal hustle or business. But safety of kids, safety of their neighborhood, safety of their women, that's probably paramount. Because, I want my wife to feel safe if she's at the clubhouse. I want my kids to feel safe.
Yeah.
And, and they should.
I think sometimes too, depending on what you're doing, there is not that it's always a do good. There are some selfish aspects to it too. If we know that we have a big party coming up, we'll have a cookout for the neighborhood if they want to come, or we know the people in the neighborhood, so we know maybe who drinks what, and we can take something over there and be like, hey, Saturday we got a party going on, because we want to keep it good in the neighborhood. I don't want you calling the cops on me and my party. And so if cooking something for you or bringing you a bottle or a 30-pack of something keeps you happy, that's what I want to do to make sure that the neighborhood keeps humming along. And I think then it helps them overlook the nights where maybe the music goes a little bit loud or bikes are leaving a little bit later. It keeps up good relations in the community.
Well, that's like one thing that is probably the most important thing to establishing yourself. Especially if you have just opened up a clubhouse, is that community outreach, going and introducing yourself to your neighbors, making sure they have a phone number that they can contact somebody with. Just if they want to call in a noise complaint, call it into me. I'll turn the music down for you. That way we don't have to get the cops involved. And even to the point of reaching out to the local law enforcement. If you're going to have a big party and that it's going to draw attention because the street's going to be packed, there's nothing wrong with going down there saying like, hey, this is what we're planning on doing. Here's my number. If you need to get in touch with somebody, call me. I'll try and square it away for you. I mean, that's something that's been done forever. There's a lot of people have this stigma that we don't talk to cops. Okay, yeah, we don't talk to cops about certain things, but being proactive and not getting yourself fucking hemmed up because you have an illegal parking situation going on in front of your clubhouse, that's a different scenario altogether. It's just being a responsible member of your community, responsible owner of that clubhouse.
Well, let me follow from that. It's like when we had the big function, one of our OGs, 45-year member, passed, and COVID hit, so we couldn't really have it in the original location. So we had it at our clubhouse. It isn't large, and it basically took over the whole block. We did speak with the local commander of the police, and They were very professional. Their only thing was, please put your masks on if you're going to be congregating outside. Put your mask on because COVID is running rampant, and so nobody had an issue with that. So it's just a question of how. Not all police, like SDPD. I wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire, but the local cops where our clubhouse is located, they were very reasonable. It's a little bit smaller department, and they pay attention to what goes on because it's not a big area of San Diego.
And I think NoShame hit it on the head too. Like sometimes you're gonna have to have those interactions. Like if you think that you can go your entire club without ever having interactions in one way or another with a cop and having to have some sort of dialogue, I think you're kidding yourself. Most people are going to have you want to control it if you can, or like NoShame said, be out in front of it, but you're gonna have to have that dialogue. I think a big one people can refer back to is funerals. If you're a club that has maybe a large funeral, you're inviting a lot of people, you're gonna want to have that help to seal off some of the streets and advance stuff, because that's going to keep your guys that are riding in that pack safe. Everybody gets home at the end of the ride.
Absolutely. Funerals are a big one, and you just remind them that, hey, this is a biker funeral. It's not going to be done in 2 hours. 2 days maybe, but definitely not 2 hours.
Funny we're talking about this with the clubhouses and how they interact with their local communities, but so I write all these short stories, and they're always bouncing around in my head. And I've had one that's in rough draft now, about very similar to what you guys are talking about, and just these characters are in my head. With one of them, this big, huge dude, and he's sent over as a prospect to help this 90-year-old black woman who's particular about her garden. And one of the guys messed up her garden or something like that, and he has to go over there as a prospect to help her. And this guy, he's been in and out of jail his whole life. This club is the only thing that's saving him, right? And in the end, his character growth is that he's going to fall in love with helping this old lady and being a gardener. So you imagine this big, huge dude, and all he wants to do is garden and protect this little old lady who's his grandmother now. And yeah, so that's that.
I want to hear that story. I want to read that story. So yeah, I think you need to figure it out now.
Yeah, it's bumping around in my head.
Yeah, you got to get the next set of stories are ready to be told. But I think so we're talking about like charity work and stuff like that, and Drifter, for somebody like you and your club who maybe some of the chapters, you're in a multi-chapter club, but they don't have kind of like what we think of I guess conventional clubhouses or something like that. What are some of the things that you guys do as far as like keeping the name positive in the community, or when you do interact with the community? What are some things that you guys choose to do, because you're not coming from a place of like like a brick and mortar type clubhouse open to public events?
Well, we have a compound in the Midwest that's freaking huge. The local chapter there had put on a big, huge bike show for several years and big biker event, and they got all this money over the years and bought a huge amount of land, built a nice clubhouse, and then guys were able to build little shacks and clubs that they could stay in around the clubhouse. It's pretty nice. As far as what we do for community outreach, my club is real media shy. We're not. We'll do help local wise, and we'll take part in charity and that sort of thing, but we don't really want to talk to anybody in the media. It's just a cultural thing, I guess, with us, but that's it.
Well,
with nothing.
I think you bring up a good point that I would love to get all your guys' thoughts on. So, you mentioned media and tied it into like doing good and stuff like that. And I think all of us would probably agree that we've had charity events, we've done good things in the community, we've helped out families without needing a single piece of IG or social media or any type of media kind of feedback from it. But there's a pro and a con to that. I think that it helps kind of us as MC members control the narrative versus always getting negative feedback from the media, and it helps kind of promote a positive image. But in a way, is it also kind of no shame's better with the big words, like disingenuous. Is that what I'm looking for?
Disingenuous?
For some clubs or for some guys. What do you guys think? Like, does it have to be that presence, that media, or are we doing it for good? Are we doing it so you don't look over here at this hand?
What are you doing with that hand there, buddy?
Now, I could speak to some of that, and I have an example of it. We have brothers down in the LA area. They go down to Skid Row and they do like a feed the homeless type deal. And then there's some brothers that cut hair for a living, and they'll go down there and give out free haircuts to the homeless and stuff like that. I have a brother up here in Washington who owns a barber shop, and he'll fly down to LA on his own dime and do all that, cut the hair, help out with all that. And, just as a means to give back. And I offered him a spot to, kind of feature what he was doing on the page. And he pretty much just turned it down, and it wasn't something that he's doing for recognition. He's doing it simply to help the community. I see where you're going with it, where it's like, if we could get this stuff spotlighted a little bit more, it would help the overall perception of the biker in America. But
is there a balance that has to be had?
I think part of it is, as long as the community knows what we're doing, the people that we're around all the time, then who the fuck cares what everybody else thinks? Let them be scared of the big bad biker, But the people that matter, that are around, that we interact with and interface with on a daily basis, they know what we're really about, and they'll be there to take care of us, just like we are there to take care of them.
Hey, Ken and Professor, you guys, before Ken had to transfer, you guys were kind of roaming in the same circles, kind of that same area. What was it like, seeing clubs doing, were there some clubs where you were like, these fucking jokers are just doing it for media whoring attention? Or, was there stuff that you guys saw that was like really good and genuine stuff that was like, yeah, you're like, that's trash?
I mean, all the time. And let's take Boost Fighters, for example. Most of the time, their clubhouse was full of kids' bikes, because they were collecting bikes throughout the year for the toy runs that they still do every year. There was a fire clubhouse, and they weren't able to get back into it, so we had to kind of scramble. We'll see what happens this year with that. But that's something that people didn't realize. I mean, it wasn't just a place for them to party and function. That they were collecting toys for most of the year. There are other clubhouses which are a lot more low key, that are pretty remote, which, yeah, it is for partying, because there's no neighborhood to really work with. Nobody's around, and that's okay too, because we don't necessarily want to interact with civilians. Most fights in bars don't start because bikers come in there and cause trouble. Most fights in bars start because a drunk civilian does something stupid and disrespectful, and then the reaction is instantaneous and by reflex as well. I'm not going to talk about specific bar fights, but any alleged bar fights that I've ever had in San Diego started with somebody, trying to try on my patch, like literally trying to take it off my back, and reflex kicked in at that point in time. So, or might have kicked in allegedly. Yeah, if that happened.
What about you, Ken?
I've actually seen kind of the opposite, but I don't really want to focus on the negative. Like, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be clubs out there that fucking I don't think necessarily are trying to do the right thing just to do the right thing, but more of a like pat themselves on the back, like, hey, look what I did.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a whole lot of like, oh, hey, look at all the good I'm doing for the community, so you forget about all the like shady shit that I'm doing. I didn't see a lot of that.
This is an old discussion. After the Lynch report came out in the '60s, you know, certain big name clubs started handing out courtesy cards every time they would change a tire for some guy on the side of the freeway. They'd give him a card with their club's name on it to counteract what came out that Lynch report. So this is kind of the same discussion that we're having today.
Yeah, we still give out courtesy cards now too.
Yeah, good deal.
Blade hit on a point that, I mean, if this podcast ends up turning into like do's and don'ts of owning a clubhouse, then another point that you brought up was shit. What the fuck were you saying?
Damn if I know.
Ken, timestamp this. We're editing it out. You were talking about mixing civilians and bikers together, and that ended up. It's something that I see all the time. Is that you get these clubhouses and they open up for an after hours, and it's open to everybody and anybody that wants to come in there. And that's when you get fights, and that's when you get shootings, and that's when all that shit ends up turning sour. One of the things that when we had our clubhouse up here, we made it abundantly clear before going into that venture that we were only going to have that clubhouse if we could self-sustain it. So if we never had to open the doors to the public to pay all of our bills, then we would have that venue.
That's the way to do it.
It was something that was very important to us before taking that step, because we never wanted to feel like we had to open our doors. There was actually I'm up here where there was another club who was having issues with fights and shootings and people getting jumped at their clubhouse, and we had a sit down with them to kind of just figure out how we're going to resolve all these problems that were going on. We have to open up. Like, if we don't open up, we're gonna lose this place. We're gonna get evicted. That's just never a situation you want to find yourself in. So don't rush into having a clubhouse for the simple pleasure of saying I have a clubhouse. Realize that it's a huge responsibility, a huge undertaking, and if you're not financially solvent enough as a collective membership, don't do it.
Not to mention the fact you have to keep it in order as well. People have to take pride in their house. I mean, I think Dave wrote an article about this. I don't know if we reposted it on Four for the Road about just taking care of the house, and it doesn't matter who you are, the president down to a prospect. Pick up a broom, you take care of your house. It's it's your honor. It's your honor to be there, and your honor to take care of it. So another thing is that you can get infiltrated as well if you have to have it open up to the public. If anyone can just walk in, it doesn't mean you're doing something bad. But believe me, once they get in, they can find, they can fabricate a reason to shut you down. And that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
That has happened. I mean, so many things like, weed is legal now. Okay. So somebody might be smoking weed, big deal. But all of a sudden, they're selling pounds and pounds of weed. It's like, he had a couple of joints, big deal. Yeah. So, definitely being self-sustaining is very, very important.
Yeah, I think clubhouses are great, and they're dangerous all at the same time, because they can become, and I don't mean dangerous like in the violent sense of the word, but all of a sudden, you're, rather than being on the road or doing whatever, you're stuck chasing a dollar to keep, you're chasing rent. Some guys, depending on the size of your club, you might have to go home and do your husband duties or your house, your house chores, or keep your house in order. And then you got to go to the clubhouse, and, maybe you got to cut grass there too after you finished your own house. Maybe you got to shovel, maybe you got to do some electrical work, some plumbing, some drywall, and whatever the case may be. For that, because it's going to be on your free time. So it's not just going to be, beers, bitches, and bikes. Like, there's going to be other stuff that has to go into it. I mean, if you could find bitches to bring you beer while you're doing it, I guess that could be one way. But you have to be prepared to take on that extra, like NoShame said, not only the financial side of it, but just the workload. And the more, obviously, the bigger you are and the more house you have, the more upkeep you're gonna have. And it's not gonna be, if you got some probates or something like that, but otherwise it's gonna be you guys cleaning up the puke, the piss on the side of the toilet, the list goes on.
Yep.
And you don't want to have, like NoShame was saying, if you put yourself in a position where you have to have non-MC types coming into your clubhouse to pay the rent, then you're bringing in a clash of cultures. You got one culture that's an honor-based culture that deals with things quickly and swiftly. Then you've got this other culture that really doesn't see things the same way, and that's always going to cause problems. So you're always going to have that issue of fights and everything that No Shame just listed. So
And
if
like,
I agree, if you can't afford the clubhouse, don't get it.
and if Ken goes down there to the clubhouse and gets punched in the mouth, or Ken goes down there and punches someone in the mouth. It's not Ken punch somebody in the mouth at the club. It's chosen few punch somebody in the mouth.
Oh, in
For the
yep.
civilians, for the club guys, we're like, no, 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 that's not what happened. But for the civilians, they know that they were at a house. They know the name of the house, who runs it, and they know that somebody got punched there, and therefore it de facto becomes your club punch somebody in the mouth, even though Ken is not associated as a member in any way. It's that's what happened at this clubhouse, so it's that club's fault, and you have to be prepared for that.
That goes back to why you need to keep your neighborhood clean too, because our house on 108th and Broadway, our legendary house there, something happened. I remember there was a young lady that got murdered in the neighborhood. Had nothing to do with us. She wasn't anywhere near a clubhouse, but it was in the neighborhood. We got blamed for that, and it's unfortunate, and it was unusual, but we got blamed for that. They're picking little things like that because it happened within our vicinity, but it had nothing to do with us. So that's why you got to police your own neighborhood. You got to make sure it's clear of all this kind of stuff, all this nonsense.
Because it sells headlines, man. It sells advertising space in newspapers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a ton of good reasons and a ton of good things that come out of having a house. Obviously, people kind of already aware of those. We're just kind of touching on, some of the pitfalls, I guess, or some of the other things to watch out for. Stocking a fridge is a pain in the ass.
Yep.
And
it has to be
I like the idea. Go ahead.
I was going to say that there's so much that goes into the back end of running a clubhouse, and then it opens so many questions. If you have an open bar and you just have your liquor out, and then somebody starts noticing that the till's not balancing out, or that some of the bottles are coming up short, then the internal, like, I think this person's sneaking into the clubhouse, not paying for their drinks, kind of stuff. You have to be cognizant of all of those realities going into it, and have some kind of way to mitigate it. Like you were talking about cleaning up, like who's going to sweep the floors, who's going to take the trash out. And if you don't schedule that shit and put a name to task, and this is the day that you're going to come in and do this thing, and spread that out evenly, you're always going to have one person who takes it upon themselves to do it. And they're going to feel like nobody else is sharing in that workload. And these are like lessons that a lot of people have to learn the hard way, and you have to go through like the drama and the bullshit to figure out a system to make it work. That it would serve everybody very well to sit down and think about all these things, talk to people who've had clubhouses before, and figure out what kind of issues they ran into and get ahead of it, because you don't want any kind of those seeds of doubt spreading around inside your club. It could be a real downfall to an organization.
I tell you, wish we had a clubhouse sometimes just to put all the memorabilia that we have, the old T-shirts, the old racing jerseys, even the old bikes. That would be a nice thing to have.
Actually, that's one of the best things about having a clubhouse, is so that newer members get to see all this history. So they get to see the pictures, they get to touch, they get to feel it, and that's
tell them what you did to protect that. That was genius.
Yeah, I registered our clubhouse as a museum.
Oh, nice.
Because we have some very historical pieces there. Some stuff from the very beginnings of time of our club. And it's important to protect that stuff. And, some people come to our clubhouse simply to see this stuff. So it's very important that you protect it.
So for somebody
what does that do for you?
Yeah, what's that process look like for that for other people?
You register as an LLC in California. Anything can be registered as a museum, but you register it through the state. And basically, you're saying that this stuff, in the event of, let's say, a raid, God forbid, because raids can happen for stupid reasons. This stuff is protected. This stuff, is not part of this, whatever issue that you have. That's the purpose of doing that. It protects the stuff from being ending up on the police department's wall as their trophies, and that's what they do. You know, they collect trophies.
A little sidebar on that kind of crap. So whenever they're doing that sort of thing, the cops will bust down your front door, your personal house, trash your whole house just so they can grab your cut and then prove in a court of law that you're a member of that club when all they had to do was ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if we're hiding it between social media. I mean, look at the tattoos that I might have, and you're going to figure it out.
Just ask.
Yeah, and yeah, if you ask me, I'll most certainly tell you. But yeah, that's I know they have this obsession with collecting cuts if they can. Took me a year to get mine back after that last nonsense I had to go through.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Took a year?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, there's some people never get them back.
Did they have a reason why? I mean, did they give you the runaround? Did they give you excuses?
Yeah, there's all kinds of excuses, etc. I mean, it had nothing to do with what they arrested me for, but let's just say hypothetically that I somehow got hold of every single commander's email address. And yeah, so let's say hypothetically an email went out to everybody on a weekly basis until they followed the court order and released stuff that they were supposed to release. That's all hypothetical, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Make for a great story.
Maybe Jim can work it into one of his next short stories.
Yeah.
When's the next book coming out, man?
Dude, you saw the last one was literally put together on a Sunday afternoon, and it shows.
Well,
okay. Well, here we are on a Sunday afternoon waiting for another book.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but we have two members of the Chosen Few Motorcycle Club, and we had S1 on, who dropped an album that's on iTunes. So I feel like you've been called out. That's that's a soft flex, and you need to step it up. You need a new book.
Oh, so it's a rap battle. Okay, you're on.
Okay, there you go. Hey, we all bought your last book, so we want to buy another one.
Unless if you're gonna put out a rap album, I'm not buying your book. I'm gonna wait for that rap album.
If those are our options, yeah, hold off on the book.
Yeah, well, see, yeah, that's gonna be great because we had to explain to Drifter that rap was the kind of music it's after jazz.
There's nothing after jazz. You're making that shit up.
But if you are, I hope that if you're going to put together another book that you do, unless you have a whole bunch of stories kind of lined up, ready to go, that you wait until after riding to California in September and then add some of those in there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or at least providing you some sort of, if you want to keep it, I don't know if you care if you're going fiction, nonfiction, something like that, but at least provide you some inspiration. I promise you that I can do at least something half retarded that you want to write about.
You get me and Dave drunk on the road, you're gonna have some shit to write about.
I'll have to meet you guys on the road someplace.
I was just fixing to ask you, man. Are you going to be able to come up and see us?
Yeah, I'll once we figure out what your what your route is, I'll meet you on the road someplace.
So far, we've got
we got the first 200 miles planned.
Yeah, we got St. Louis to Kansas City.
St. Louis to Kansas City is goal.
So which one you want to meet us at? Are
you going to come through Arizona?
I think so, because that's what we want to. We want to not only meet with people that reach out or that are willing to talk with us, whether that's through the pen or through through recording or whatever, but we also want to do some of or all of Route 66. Right? Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, I mean it was just an idea, and we do have an invitation in Albuquerque. I think it is.
Okay, well we can meet in New Mexico, or I could go pick up Ryder, your buddy Ryder, along the way someplace.
Yeah.
I don't know where Route 66 goes in reference through Arizona, but yeah, definitely be coming through Arizona.
Okay, so New Mexico in September is great. It's lovely. So it's we can meet somewhere around there, and ride you into California.
Yeah, I showed somebody my planned map either on the way out or the return trip back, and it was just a bunch of squiggles just going all over the place. I mean, trying to hit everything from like Colorado and Utah and Nevada and California and all this stuff. It was just Texas. It was just a big squiggle.
Yeah, so the scenery looks nice and all that, but I'm really looking forward just to meeting these different people and talking to them about all these things that we just love to talk about.
And I won't throw his name out there, but the first club that reached out to us, the first guy, his club's been around since the 60s, did he say, or the 70s? Either way, I mean, a substantial amount of history.
Yeah, it was the 60s.
60s, yeah. So yeah. There you go. So I mean, just a substantial amount of history, and when he messaged us talking about having different old time members and stuff like that, willing to sit down and show us old pictures and stuff like that. So that first part was definitely really cool, and obviously everybody wants to see the marquee names that are either associated with Four for the Road or everybody's got those big time clubs that they know about and stuff like that, which obviously would be cool. But something that I kind of didn't think about until this other guy messaged us was the little clubs with a lot of great history that we'll be able to sit down and chat with, or see some of their memorabilia, see some of their history, learn some of that stuff. Just for guys to be willing to share that is just, to me, that's just awesome. And I'm excited for the small time stuff as well as those big, large national clubs that are willing to have a conversation.
Oh, me too.
I've always been a big advocate for the fact that you can learn a lot about your own club from other clubs, especially from other old clubs, especially if you pay attention. There might be clubs that have one chapter, but they've been around for 50 years, and they used to party with your club back in the day. You can learn a lot from them.
Oh, that's true.
You can learn a hell of a lot from them.
And I think for Drifter and for Ken and myself, I mean, maybe there's somebody that secretly got like a Four for the Road hit list or something like that, but we don't have a lot of negative interactions. We don't have, from a club perspective, we don't have a lot of negative club interactions and stuff like that. So I think we're, as far as like an MC and a writing kind of merging or whatever, I think we're in a good place to maybe hopefully get people to open up and talk to us based on kind of that, or they're gonna stab me in their basement. One or the other.
I don't know. I don't know. I had a negative interaction yesterday on the page. So
what was her name?
No, it was dude that told me that fucking Pennywise wasn't punk music, but I forgive him. It's okay.
What an idiot.
Well, if all else fails and it's the three of us, all I have to do is make sure that I'm faster than Drifter or Ken. So,
well, if the stars align, I'll be on a new challenger. So you're not going to be faster than me.
I'm talking about on foot. Okay, it's going to be on foot.
Oh, you already win.
And that's the third different bike that you were supposed to get in the next 2 years. So
yeah, what happened to the Road Glide?
What you actually end up on?
It was the Road Glide. It was always between the Road Glide and the Challenger.
Okay. 72 Ironhead is what he's going to end up on.
Fuck no. Yo, I know I'm only 31, but I feel like I'm your age, dude.
Oh, you are not my age.
Old and decrepit and just fucking broken. It just fucking, it hurts to be alive. So.
Wait till you hit 55. Come talk to me.
Jesus Christ, you're 55?
Yeah.
You look at least 70, bro.
Ken, you can't use the excuse that you have a military body because he's gone down your road already.
No, he has not. His road was extremely, it was way worse.
Is NoShame going to come down from and see us and hang out with us?
I hope so.
Give me your itinerary. I'll find a spot to meet you.
I was going to say,
if you want, I can get get some of the older clubs that are local around here. Maybe you'll see if they want to come ride down with me and give you guys an extra little bit of history you can plug in.
How cool would that be?
And if we leave like a September, I don't know what it would be, but like September 8th, I expect the itinerary to be ready September 7th. So I mean, I'm looking forward to that.
Slow your roll there, buddy. We're keeping a little loose.
I have to be back in Jacksonville by the 16th.
You
Well,
might be by yourself.
When we posted about it and stuff like that, and guys are like, well, what loop can I ride with you? And I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's not that you can't ride with us for a stretch or something like that. I don't know. Okay. I can't tell you this far in advance, and I probably can't tell you until 24 hours, 12 hours in advance. Like, I'm in a truck stop, like, hey man, we're coming through. Where you?
So can you try to do this whole thing in 8 days?
I'm going to try.
Is that the plan? I had a rip plan from here to mile marker 0 and back in 10 days. And I was on track to get it until some legal trouble hit us in Louisiana. So it's doable, but look forward to a couple 1,000-mile days back to back.
Well, it's not.
Our brother in Texas has done that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's mostly as long as I leave California on the 13th, I'll be okay.
Oh,
so
yeah,
here's the deal.
Take the 10 all the way across, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and just hop, because when I moved out here from San Diego, I went from San Diego to El Paso to Houston, and then I made the hop from Houston to Jacksonville. So I plan on just doing the same shit.
Yeah, you can ride 120 on the 10 and not get pulled over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll be at my club nationals the first weekend, which is the 3, 4, and 5 of September. So that Sunday, the 5th, I'm heading to meet you guys wherever.
So that gets 10, 11 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have a Mando on like Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
So it's right after that. It's we can figure it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely block out some time. Fuck it.
Nice.
Yeah, and I really it's not gonna take us it's not a 16-day trip,
Says who?
And Tragic is just up the street from me, so it's I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try
up the street from you too. It's just a 1,200-mile street.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to guilt my dad into coming out from San Diego.
Does he even want to see you?
I mean, probably not. That's why he said guilt. You got
for me, like being out here in the Midwest and stuff like that. Like, there's some really great riding that you can do. I'm not knocking it, but if you've been riding for any amount of time, it starts to look the same. Like, you can go up, north, south, east, west, whatever, and Minnesota looks like Wisconsin. Michigan looks like Wisconsin. Illinois is boring as fuck, but there's parts that look like Wisconsin. Like, you go more north, you're in Canada and stuff like that. Like, we've been up around Lake Superior. It looks the same as where I live. Like, there's little differences and stuff like that. That's still cool to see, but you get used to it. And then some of the easier kind of, if you're looking at a 7-day route or an 8 or 9-day route, I've done plenty of East Coast stuff. From here, it's easy to get to the East Coast. It's nothing but a hop, skip, and a jump. So I'm looking forward to like some different stuff. I've been out west, but I've never been further than Nevada. So, and getting a chance to ride out there, like, I'm excited. I want to ride the desert. I'm gonna be lost in the desert. I was like, when can I ride? When can I ride Death Valley?
Oh, everyone says they want to.
It sounds so nice until, especially
until you do it. They're just like, why the fuck am I doing this?
You will learn very quickly that you either leave very early in the morning or you leave at night.
Yeah.
Death Valley hit the highest recorded temperature on Earth this year. Something stupid, 130 plus.
Yeah. All I can say is long sleeve white t-shirts.
Yes.
A bunch of bottles of water that you douse yourself in. Oh, I invented a system called pocket ice. So if you have a cut with chest pockets, you unbutton your pockets and fill them with ice. As they melt, it's like for about 20 minutes on your run after you leave the gas station, you got a nice little air conditioning system going on. Pocket ice. Write it down.
Yeah. Good way to keep the nippies cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But the dousing yourself is very important. When you stop for gas, you pour a couple of bottles of water on yourself, all over yourself, especially your legs. Your legs, you think they're fine. You think, oh, I got to protect my face and all that, but your legs get hot. So yeah, it's Death Valley is not fun. I'm sorry. It never
Sometimes
was.
you're like, yeah, and Jim, Drifter's talking about going in September. I'm like, oh, we've had snow here before in September. At Death Valley, it'd be great. It'd be like 80 degrees and perfect. Tragic's like, no, it'll still be like 110.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like at sunset too. Like not even.
Yeah, 6 hours in that heat and you're done.
Yeah. Make sure
It's
you have a
god-awful.
nice location to cool off when you get.
If you want a nice desert type experience, it's not too hot. Riding the salt flats in Utah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It gets boring just like the desert, but you don't have to fucking worry about dying of heat stroke. But it's pretty amazing to see. It's just nothing but just dry old freaking ocean bed to your left and right forever.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Well,
Sign
and
me up.
plus the racing history that goes on at the Salt Flats or has gone at the Salt Flats is definitely, that's why I said like the whole route is just squiggly lines, like trying to get trying to like message us like, what's the itinerary like I don't know, bro. I don't know, I'm sorry. Like we need to invent our own app where people can like, well, I don't really want you to be able to track me either, so scratch that, but something like
Well, the first thing we got to do is figure out who we're going to talk to, and then that'll tell us what our route is.
yeah.
You know what we do? We get Ken to set up a Grinder account, and then we get all of our listeners to set up Grinder accounts as well. So that way, when it's near, you get a little ding on your phone. You know it's time to meet up.
That just sounded so wrong for some reason.
But you know what? It's also not a bad idea.
Yeah, but we're not that kind of website, guys.
I mean, we can get Hollywood on here, and then we would be that kind of website.
Everybody gets their own tab. Woohoo!
I saw that. I don't. We can edit this out if you want, but I saw that he started a dating advice column. Do you guys want to give out dating advice? I saw somebody they sent I don't know if it was Chris that sent it to us or somebody else, but somebody got into his ass making fun of a clothing company that uses a diamond. And I don't know if we ended up talking about this in the group or not, but I get the I don't know the pros and the cons, I guess, of doing that, or why somebody in the biker community might post about it being offensive or ridiculous or whatever, or not care. But I did see that he posted about that. I was wondering as far as clothing companies using symbols like that, what do you guys feel?
They're doing it to make money, and they're not doing it for altruistic reasons or legitimate reasons. They're capitalizing on something they think is going to make them money.
It's an image thing, and it's like they don't understand the implications of what you're doing, and by the time it gets to a point where we're seeing it, it's like, what are you really going to do? Are we going to get all the outlaw motorcycle clubs in the entire country to roll up on their production plants and shut them down? Like, no, it's not going to happen. It's stupid. I was watching the Tyson, and there was some rapper on there performing, and he had this jacket on with a whole 3-piece patch set up on the back, and it's like, what the fuck, Yeah, but it's emulating the culture, but at the same time, like, why concern yourself with something that's not going to change, unless it's there was that clothing company that had like the death head basically blacked out.
Yes.
Battle that with your trademarking things. Take the route on something like that. But as far as just companies that are going to use commonplace MC iconic imagery, what am I going to do? And me as an individual, what am I going to do to change that? Absolutely nothing I can do. So I'm not going to worry myself with it.
No,
They're not
some of these companies.
so
I mean, some of these companies are like geared towards like motorcycle brands or whatever. There's obvious examples out there. So motorcycle guys, motorcycle riders, maybe club guys, whatever, are buying that stuff. Does anybody have issue with that, with seeing a guy, they come by your clubhouse, they come by your event, they're at bike night, they got a t-shirt with a big old diamond on it? Is it just like that's a fashion statement and it doesn't really register to you one way or the other since it's not club related? Or is that something you're laughing at? Like, where do you guys fall on that?
I don't think somebody would be able to walk into the clubhouse wearing that. Just, I'm nice. I'm reasonable. I will try and educate, but I don't think they'd be able to walk into the clubhouse wearing that.
You can give me $25 and I'll hand you a support shirt. You can go change real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's companies out there that have those diamonds on there, right? And to me, it's just kind of like, what are you gonna do? And how, to answer your question, no shame, is, like, what do you do as an individual? You just don't support it. You just don't buy shit from that fucking company. Let's be your one person protest. But I mean, you see him at a bike night, and this is a non-diamond guy, right? Never been a 1%er. I just kind of look at him like, fucking, okay, nerd. Like, what are you doing? Like, do you know what's going? Like, do you know what that's supposed to represent? Fucking, at max, you're gonna educate him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a chance. Like No Shame said, it's kind of part of the culture, and it sells and it emulates, and people are attracted to that. I get that. It could be a chance for education, and I also think too, if you're just a dude ripping around on your dyno with 700 diamonds plastered all over yourself, do you? I'm not gonna care. I'm not a diamond holder though. Maybe you run into one that cares. I feel like just in our interactions, you're gonna run into a lot that are just gonna let you go by because you're not really crossing into that world. You're just doing your thing with your clothing and your 700 diamonds and all that kind of stuff. And I think for the most part, dudes are probably going to maybe either not even pay mind or snicker and laugh, and you're going to go about your way and never even know that somebody was laughing at you. You know, and if you decide to come into the world or whatever, you probably get an education, and maybe you're going to change your clothing, or maybe you're going to be in a club that doesn't give a shit what you wear, and I think it's going to be kind of different to the individual.
I mean, it kind of goes back to a point that I always try to get across is, what is your intention in what you're doing? And everybody knows what their intention is.
There you
like
go.
you were saying, if you're just a regular guy riding your bike and you got some crazy shit on, and you're not part of the culture, and I see you at a gas station, I'm not going to say anything to you. But if you start coming to events or start going to clubhouses and shit like that, well, now you're actively pursuing a role in my world. And that doesn't mean I'm going to beat the shit out of you, but I might have a talk with you and just be like, look, man, like, this is the significance of the thing that you're wearing. This is how some people might take that. And that might not be the perception that you're wanting to put out there, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt to think that most people are either ignorant or they had good intentions that went the wrong way. And, it goes back to those clubs that want to put a diamond on and put some random ass thing in there that doesn't say anything. And then they're like, oh, we're not 1%ers. These are our club initials, and we put them in a diamond. Like, you know what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that, as long as you can act the way that somebody that wears a diamond is supposed to act. And as long as you can deal with consequences that diamond holders deal with for their actions. It's wear whatever the fuck you want. Just make sure that you have the clout and the ability to back up what the fuck you're wearing if you're going to involve yourself in a culture where those symbols have meaning.
So I got a question for, I guess, obviously, as the 1%er for No Shame, but Drifter too, as a history kind of nerd like myself, since it, the 1% moniker came out and stuff like that. I mean, it's transformed, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, 5, 6 different times since the early 60s. So in a course of 60 years, you're talking about, basically once every 10 years almost. It's gone through a change. I mean, obviously it happened faster than that, but just to break it down for you. And so we've had nothing. We've had just the number and the percent symbol. We've had squares. We've had ovals. We've had circles. We've had obviously now diamonds. And I think I'm missing one, and I just my nerdum is failing me today. But
Did you get the circle?
I said the circle, but so for the historical aspect versus the significance today, kind of like last podcast, we're talking about progress and tradition and everything else. Is it more the diamond symbol? Is it more the 1% symbol? Like, kind of what, is there a balance there? Is there a difference?
You're talking about, if somebody's trying to emulate something and they're
Yeah,
slapping something
yeah.
on. To me, it's like I take into account when dealing with situations like this who are the people that are getting involved in this. And I try to approach everything, like I said, as if everybody's ignorant. But if I find out that there's a club out there that was started by somebody who knows better, well, I'm just going to give that information. If you're putting on a state rocker as a pop-up club and nobody knows who you are, you haven't talked to anybody, but you have been in a club before for say 10 years, you know better. You know better than to do that. I'm not going to associate with you. And if I do have an interaction with you and something comes up, I'm going to expect that you can conduct yourself as a person who wears a bottom rocker with a state in it. Now, if you decide on your own that you want to change that and you don't feel like you're at that level and you want to portray yourself more towards the level that you're at, then I'll respect that. And now we can start having more interactions because you took that advice and you're working towards it in a productive way. But people know what they're doing. If you use anything involving those symbols, whether it be just the shape of a diamond or whether it be a three-piece setup when you really have no business rocking a three-piece setup, or whether it be just a 1% somewhere in your patch, you know what you're doing. And don't play me for a fool that you didn't do that on purpose. If you didn't know what you're doing and you decide that you don't want to heed the advice, well, okay, now you know, and I've done my part. I'm not going to hold anybody accountable for a lesson I haven't taught them myself. But once that lesson's been taught and I understand that you understand, we'll handle it in that manner.
What about you, Drifter?
So, from a historical point, you look at it, and people started putting on three-piece patches, and then that was a big deal. In the '70s, if you put on a three-piece patch, you were going to have issues. Now it's kind of the standard. You see it everywhere. And then it went to, okay, well, MC Cube. If you're rocking an MC Cube, that's your ass. You better be prepared to defend it, that kind of thing. Well, guess what? Everybody and their brother has an MC Cube now. And now the big attack, the giant tidal wave of the masses now are starting to incorporate some kind of diamond. So I think eventually you're going to see a lot more diamonds everywhere on everybody, and that will happen until the elite few in the MC world come up with a new symbol or a new saying, and that'll be underground at first, and then it'll get out a little bit, and then 20 years down the road, everybody will be doing whatever that new symbol is.
Do you
That's what
think
I
there's
think.
going to be? Do you think? And I know we're just bullshitting here, but do you think there'll be another evolution of this of kind of the status symbol?
Like a new symbol or the
Yeah,
1%
yeah, a new way to represent the 1% status. Or do you think that, the early stuff was kind of working the kinks out, and now we've evolved as far as the visual symbol is going to go, or do you think there's going to be another iteration eventually?
I think there are clubs right now that have it within their club that this is an elite status. And they don't really talk about it because they know once it gets out, people are going to emulate it. I think that's going on right now.
Well, and for people that are listening, I want you to know that what we're saying here is simply that if you're going to start a pop up club, use this rectangular 1% symbol.
Nice public service announcement there.
I think like going to what Drifter's saying, we're to a point now where interfacing with other clubs is so easy, and if I have a question about a club in a different part of the country that I've never seen before, maybe they're localized, it's a couple phone calls before I have a contact or something like that. But as far as the larger clubs, we know who's been around. We know who's who in the game. So people, like I said, I'm not going to actively pursue taking somebody's shit off. That's me. That's I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know who the real players are in the game, and I know who's faking the funk. And Do I think that it'll ever go back to what it was, where a select few have diamonds on and that's what it is? Probably not. I think Drifter's more along the lines of what's actually going to happen, but everybody kind of knows who everybody else is. Yeah, and then I think it's going to go back to more along the lines of this club has a lineage, this club has a history, and they're respected in these circles. You know, if you think that there's not meetings that happen behind closed doors, you're fooling yourself. And if you think that you're going to be a club that's going to start up and in the first 2 years you're going to slap a diamond and a three-piece on and you're going to have a spot at that table, you're wrong. And that's where the real status comes in, and that's where the real power is who has a seat at those tables, who has a direct line of communication, who has influence in the community. And that doesn't come from a patch. There's plenty of people that don't have patches on that do have seats at that table. So,
and I don't want to I'm not trying to drive the bus over absolutely anybody here, but if we talk about, kind of when the B movie scene exploded and when it was popular to put clubs in magazines and stuff like that, because there are some very legitimate, heavy hitter, awesome clubs out there with a lot of history, that their diamond, that is all worked into a single patch. Their MC is not a cube and stuff like that. Like there's some very legit one-piece patch, two-piece patches, and things like that are out there. But when we kind of look at Hollywood in the 50s and the 60s, kind of cashing in on biker B flicks and stuff like that. Look at some of the early magazines. They kind of focused on clubs that were maybe more, three-piece patch setup. And is that kind of where the fascination came from other clubs to take that three-piece patch and run with it and create? And everybody wanted that, like Drifter said, everybody wanted that for their club. Instead of, like I said, there's very legit and awesome one and two piece patch clubs out there. Why isn't that as emulated? Why is it the three piece? Is it because of Hollywood?
Yes, 100%. Because the image was built that this is what an outlaw looks like. This is the last of the cowboys, however you want to put it, that media made it. And that look was a three piece with a diamond. So that's what everybody started emulating.
I think the three piece comes first. I think they throw the diamond on after.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming Sons of Anarchy for any of this, but I think people see that and they say, okay, cool, this is what a club looks like. Or then there's that, or they just look at history. They see, you Google motorcycle clubs, the first two clubs that are going to pop up are Hells Angels and the Mongols, right? So they're going to look like that. And I think that's where it comes from. And once they kind of get to know a little bit more about the culture, that's where you see you'll see the War Rockers come in. You'll see the diamonds. You'll see the different kind of flashes come on. They start emulating a little more of what they want to be, but they don't understand the severity of it. And hopefully they run across a guy like NoShame that'll say, hey, man, do you understand what you're doing is fucking wrong? And, let me help you out. And hopefully they don't run across somebody that gives no fucks and they say, hey, you want to fucking wear the uniform? I'm going to treat you like you know everything. And then they just get their, education that way.
Hey, Drifter, as somebody that's been around in the scene for a long time, is there a point where you can say, hey, I really started to notice an influx of new clubs after this or during this time period or something like that? Like Ken mentioned, Sons of Anarchy came out 2006, 2007, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Which is before my time in clubs and stuff like that. Was there an influx when that hit the streets? Was it before that? What have you kind of seen?
I can't really speak to it that way because I moved to a different location, and where I was first around the New Orleans area, there was a lockdown. There was two major clubs there, and they had an agreement between themselves, and everything else got kind of locked down. So you hardly ever saw a club. And then I moved up here to the East Coast where I am now, and holy shit, you can't swing a dead chicken without hitting a new club. It's everywhere. So I don't know what caused that. I don't know if it's just regional or whatever, but it was a eye opener for me when I moved up here.
And to that point, a lot of it is how well a region is managed. And speaking to what Ken was saying with just the ignorance of it, in 2009, I was living in Texas, and I was watching Sons of Anarchy with some buddies. We're like, well, we should start a motorcycle club. And luckily, I fucking knew a guy that was in a club and pitched him my dumbass idea, and he's like, let me give you some education on how things work in Texas. And things worked very differently in Texas back in 2009, and I'm glad that I had that educational experience with that person, and I pumped the brakes on what I was doing and took my time and did it the right way. But I think a lot of people just don't have that. They see this thing and it's an attractive thing to people, and then they want to do it. And if a region has the means set up for something to happen, and they have people actively participating in enforcing those standards, then you're going to have a better outcome. What we have up here is just a group of clubs that gets together on a regular basis, and we keep an eye out and see if there's new people, and if somebody does pop up and we see a new patch, it's a simple conversation. Hey, we'd appreciate it if you held fast on rocking those colors. Please come to this meeting and introduce yourself. That way everybody knows who you are, and we can go forward with the means to do this the right and respectable way. And after a certain amount of conversations, most people eventually want to do it the right way. Nobody wants to be sitting there outcasted when they think that they're coming into this sweet community that they saw on TV. Most people want to do things the right way. And it's all in how you approach it. And do you have the systems and the processes set up to give somebody that route to do it the right way? Or are you just going to tell them, like, go fuck off? Because if you're going to tell them go fuck off, then they're going to do it anyways. And then you just have to deal with that.
All right. Well, with that, I have to El Scudo Mucho.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that. It's a good ending anyway. I think
That was right on the money.
I don't have my butt fucked in Boston for the outro though. So we're gonna have to pick it. You're gonna have to do something else for the outro.
Oh man, I'm me. You're our outro guy. I'm the everything else guy.
I guess I shot my load with the butt fucking her in Boston one. So that's all I got.
Dude, I don't have anything good.
I hope people stayed for the end of that episode though to hear that, or at least just fast forward to it and then hear that song and then move on.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, dude, I don't have anything good right now.
Do you think? Well, just close this out. And you think YouTube's gonna take that episode down?
No.
No?
And if they do, I'll make them suck 3 days. Not 4.
Really?
That's just aggressive. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The dude Trey Lewis, he knows. I tagged him in it, so.
Yeah, and he liked it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys playing music at the end of every episode now?
He didn't
Yeah.
reshare it. I'm not upset that he didn't reshare it, but he did like it. So.
Did you play one of S1 songs since we had him on here already?
Oh my! Like 5 times. I played one last time you were on.
Fuck, dude. I'm like a really terrible staff member. I'll like binge listen to like 5 episodes and then I'll let them build up so that I can make it through like an entire workday with listening to nothing but Four for the Road. Because I get pissed off if I get 45 minutes into the workday and I'm just like, well, now I gotta figure out a genre of music I gotta listen to. So I haven't listened to an episode in a while.
Oh man. Well, see, now you have to because now you're on one.
Yeah, true.
So
All right,
awesome.
see you later,
Well,
Drifter.
hey, thank you guys so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate all the love and support that we're getting from you guys, the listeners and the readers. We do this shit to preserve the culture, and you guys asking the questions and the input you guys give is invaluable. So thank you for
And
that.
we could share songs like "Butt Fucked in Boston."
And we can share songs like "Butt Fucked in Boston" and Chosen Few's own S1. We can promote his stuff on there too. So don't forget to check
Motorcycle music out now on all streaming platforms.
Boom! Right there. That's the ending
All right.
right there. So hey, thanks guys so much for coming and listening to us, and we'll catch you next week.